Hey everybody, so I'm back with my my finds from the final day of the Fall Friends of the Library sale here in Gainesville, Florida. The final day is 10-cent day. Everything in the place, in the warehouse, is 10 cents. Books, records, CDs, even like multi-set records, whatever. Everything is 10 cents. So if you bring $7, you can buy 70 things, and that's about how much I had with me. So I figured that'd be plenty. Actually found more than I could afford, but it was kind of a good thing because I kind of limited myself to like what I really wanted and left behind some stuff that would probably just sort of muck up the collection, things that were interesting but I don't really need. So it's always kind of a good thing to set a budget. I feel like you don't bring home a lot of sort of iffy stuff and then end up with crap piled up all around the room. You can't see it, I hide it pretty well, but there is stuff piled up everywhere in this room. Part of that's because past Friends of the Library sales, I've just bought anything that looked interesting, and now I gotta kind of go through and weed some of that stuff out. So let's get right into it. I didn't buy a lot of records. CDs were the big thing for me this sale. Someone donated a great collection of CDs, jazz CDs, and records were fairly picked over. There's some interesting jazz things I picked up. I didn't really pick up any classical records this time. My classical selection's the top row. I guess you can't see it there, but I've got plenty of classical records. Didn't really feel the need to pick up any more of those. So let's get right into the records. First up, picked up one that was in the 78 section, shellac records here. I left behind because it was originally marked $10. Didn't even pick it up the half price day, but it was still there the final day. So for 10 cents, I picked up this nice set here. Again on disc records. Not really much of a logo there, it just says disc. There's a record label started by a guy named Mort Ash from New York City, I believe. One of the first independent jazz record labels. This is the Joe Sullivan Quartet with Sidney Bechet, George Wetling, and Pops Foster. And nice cover art. You probably, if you're a big jazz fan, recognize the artist, David Stone Martin. So before his Clef and Norgran and Verve record covers, looks like he's doing some work here with the disc record label. And let's see again. I have a feeling this is originally a 3-record set, and yet once again one record is missing. I can only imagine it's smashed to pieces at some point, as 78s tend to be. There's the disc label, disc records label. I did a little listening online. Of course I recognize the name Sidney Bechet. Didn't really recognize Joe Sullivan's name, but I'm starting to build a collection of jazz 78s, so this is a nice addition. Jerry Mulligan, Paris Concert, recorded live in Paris on the Pacific Jazz label. This one, nice shape for 10 cents. With Bob Brookmeyer on valve trombone, Red Mitchell on bass, Frank Isola on drums. Looks like, it doesn't say what year it's recorded. I'm guessing early 60s, late 50s. This one I was a little nervous about leaving behind. Figured another jazz hound might pick it up. It's originally priced $4, a little beat up, so I left it behind the first day, even the second day when things were half price, but picked it up the final day for 10 cents. The Eddie Davis Trio featuring Shirley Scott on Roulette Records. Eddie Davis, also known as Eddie Lockjaw Davis, famous tenor sax player. Shirley Scott on organ. They played together quite a bit. Shirley Scott, I think, was married to Stanley Turrentine, if I remember correctly. George Duvivier on bass, Arthur Edgehill on drums. Never seen this one before. I've got several of Shirley Scott's records on Impulse, but I hadn't seen this one before on Roulette. So I figured I'd pick it up for 10 cents. I'm excited about that one. Shirley Scott, one of the classic jazz organ players, Hammond organ players. This one, missing the jacket, but someone kept it in one of these nice Nice inner sleeves here from Inner City Records. This is Ken McIntyre with Home. 1976 it looks like, Inner City Records. That's about all I know about it. Haven't really looked this one up, but I recognize the name Ken McIntyre. Figured I picked that up for 10 cents. Zoot Sims. Zoot Sims Party on the Choice label. So you got Zoot Sims on sax, Jimmy Rowles piano, Mickey Roker drums, Bob Cranshaw bass. Not really sure what year this is recorded. It looks like 70s, 1974. I like Zoot Sims, Al Cohn, great sax players. Got that West Coast Lester Young sound. Another one, I showed another record by Lorenzo Almeida, I think. Great jazz and Spanish classical guitarist here. This is Contemporary Creations for Spanish Guitar on the Capitol Records label. Of course, this looks like it's in really nice shape. The cover cleaned up really nice, but it's all seam split to hell, but I don't really care about that. As long as the cover's not torn and ripped up too bad, I don't care. Excellent. This on the vinyl's in just beautiful shape. Okay, it looks like my camera's running out of space, so I'm going to have to shut down. It says I got 4 minutes. I'll keep rolling here. A compilation here from the Bethlehem Records label. Bethlehem is a West Coast jazz label in the late 50s. Just for variety, Bethlehem's Best Volume 1. So you got some players here. I won't go through them all, your classic West Coast jazz players. Here's Volume 3 from the same set. I've actually got these. There's 3 of these, and they issued them also in sort of a, not really a box set, but like a bound 3-record set, just called Bethlehem's Best. I've actually got 2 copies of that, but they're both just beat to hell. You know, like most old box sets, they just get torn up sitting in bins. So these are kind of nice, definitely in nicer shape. I think I'll go through the records here and I'll cut the video off and resume once I clean up some memory on the camera here. Let's see, another jazz one. Triple play stereo, looks like an Audio Fidelity series here, the Audio Fidelity record label. Pop and jazz equals swing. So kind of a novelty thing here. They recorded sort of pop music on the left channel, it says, jazz on the right, and yeah, somehow you can combine them. You can turn the balance to one side and listen to the pop recording, turn it to the other side and listen to jazz, and then somehow in the middle they come together. I have no idea how this sounds, I haven't listened to it yet. Seems like an odd concept, but interesting concept. The jazz players on here is what caught my eye. Played by a jazz ensemble featuring Bill Evans, Wayne Shorter, Eric Dolphy, Freddie Hubbard, Curtis Fuller, Ron Carter, Charlie Persip, Bill Hardman, Paul Chambers, Grishon Moncour, Jimmy Cobb. So some really fantastic jazz players on this. I don't know if this is like a one-off recording for this or they used some older recordings, but it sounded very interesting. This one actually had got the original Audio Fidelity plastic inner sleeve here, and it's still kind of folded up. Looks like maybe it had never been played. So excited to give this a shot, see what it's all about. Maybe I'll make a video where I play with the balance and you can hear what it sounds like. I'm curious. Finally, I haven't been picking up a whole lot of guitar records. I almost bought a bunch of Chet Atkins records at the sale this year, but left them behind. I've been kind of trying to weed out my guitar player records, just as I try to find somewhere to cut some of the records out of the collection. I'm just running out of space. But this one looked really funky, so I picked it up. Al Kaiola, actually the Kaiola Combo All Strung Out. Kind of a pop art, psychedelic looking influenced cover here from United Artists. He had a long contract with United Artists, I believe. So this one actually has got some good players on here. George Duvivier on bass, Grady Tate on drums, Ernie Hayes and Paul Griffin alternating at organ. So maybe some jazzy type stuff. Who knows? Definitely, I always enjoy listening to his stuff. I don't really feel like I need to keep all of it, but this looked to be in really nice shape. I'm going to cut it off here so I can clear up some space and recharge the camera a little bit, and I'll be back with my CDs, okay? Hang in there.